There is a particular kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. It is the tiredness of a person who wakes up, goes through the motions of their day, and quietly wonders where all of this is actually leading. Not because their life is falling apart, often the opposite. Their life looks stable from the outside, but something inside them senses that stability is not the same thing as direction, and comfort is not the same thing as progress. This feeling has a name, even if most people never identify it correctly. It is the feeling of drifting, and drifting is one of the most dangerous states a person can live in, precisely because it does not feel dangerous at all. It feels calm, it feels safe. It simply carries you day after day, further away from a life you never consciously chose and closer to an ending you never intended to arrive at. Today we are going to talk about the one thing that prevents this: vision. Not vision in the vague, poetic sense that gets thrown around in speeches and never explained. Real vision, a specific, usable skill that shows you exactly where you are going so clearly that drifting becomes almost impossible. By the end of this video, you will understand why vision is not a luxury reserved for extraordinary people, and exactly how to build a clear picture of your own future starting today. Let's begin with a simple but important distinction. A goal tells you what to do next. Vision tells you why any of it matters at all. Most people spend their entire lives chasing goals without ever developing the vision underneath them. And this is precisely why so many goals, even the ones they achieve, leave them feeling strangely empty once accomplished. They climbed the mountain, but they never actually decided why that particular mountain mattered to them in the first place. So when they reach the top, there is no deeper satisfaction waiting there, just a brief pause before the search for the next mountain begins. Vision solves this problem because vision operates at a different level entirely. It is the mental picture of a future so specific and so meaningful that it pulls you toward it, rather than requiring you to constantly push yourself forward through willpower alone. Willpower is exhausting. It runs out. Vision does not exhaust you the same way, because vision is not something you force. It is something that, once clearly seen, becomes almost impossible to ignore. Think about the difference between someone rowing a boat with no destination in mind and someone rowing toward a clearly visible shore. Both people are working hard. Both are using effort. Both are tired by the end of the day. But the person with no destination is far more likely to stop rowing altogether, because there is nothing pulling them forward, nothing to measure progress against, nothing that makes the effort feel meaningful. The person who can see the shore, however distant it might be, rows differently. Every stroke has purpose, because every stroke visibly closes the distance towards something they actually want to reach. This is exactly what happens in a life without vision. The effort is often still present. People still work hard, still show up, still stay busy. But the busyness is not the same as direction, and without a clear picture pulling them forward, most people eventually settle into whatever current happens to be strongest around them. That current is usually made up of other people's expectations, social norms, comfortable defaults, and the general momentum of simply doing what everyone around them is already doing. This is what drifting actually is. Not laziness, not lack of effort, simply the absence of a clear enough picture to row toward. So how do you actually build vision? Not the vague poster on the wall kind of vision, but a real, usable, specific picture of your future that can actually guide daily decisions. Let's walk through this step by step. The first step is understanding that vision begins with dissatisfaction, not inspiration. This surprises people because vision is often marketed as something purely positive and uplifting. But in reality, almost every meaningful vision begins with an honest, sometimes uncomfortable recognition that the current path is not the one you actually want to be on. If everything about your current life fully satisfied you, there would be no reason to see anything different. Vision requires a gap. It requires you to notice, honestly, the distance between where you currently are and where you sense you are capable of being. This means the first practical step toward building vision is not some inspirational exercise. It is an honest audit. Sit down and ask yourself plainly, what about my current direction actually bothers me? Not in a self-critical, harsh way, but in a clear-eyed, observant way. Where do I feel stagnant? Where do I sense I am simply repeating the same year over and over, dressed up slightly differently each time? This discomfort is not a problem to be avoided. It is raw material. It is the exact starting point every clear vision is eventually built from. The second step is picturing specifics, not vague feelings. This is where most people's version of vision falls apart. They say things like, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy, or I want a better life. These are not visions. They are wishes, and wishes are far too vague to actually pull anyone toward anything, because the mind cannot move toward a target it cannot clearly picture. Real vision requires specificity, not because the details need to be perfectly accurate in advance. They rarely are, but because the act of getting specific forces your mind to engage with the future in a completely different way. Instead of asking what would make you happy, ask, what does a normal Tuesday look like in the life I am building toward? Where do I wake up? What is the first hour of my day like? What kind of work am I doing when I sit down to focus? Who is around me? What problem am I actively solving that genuinely matters to me? The more specific the picture becomes, the more real it starts to feel. And the more real it feels, the more powerfully it begins pulling your daily decisions in its direction. The third step is testing the vision against your actual values, not borrowed ones. This step gets skipped constantly, and it is often the reason people chase a vision for years only to feel hollow once they arrive at it. Many people's mental picture of their future was never actually built by them. It was absorbed quietly from family expectations, social comparison, or a version of success they saw modeled around them without ever questioning whether it matched who they actually are. Before committing to a vision, ask yourself honestly, is this picture of the future something I actually want, or is it something I've been told I should want? This is not always an easy question to answer, because borrowed visions can feel just as vivid and just as motivating as authentic ones, at least initially. But borrowed visions tend to lose their pulling power the moment the external pressure that created them fades, while authentic visions tend to grow stronger the longer you sit with them. If your vision excites you even in complete privacy with no one else around to witness or approve of it, that is usually a strong sign it is genuinely yours. The fourth step is translating vision into a decision filter. This is where vision stops being an abstract idea and starts becoming genuinely useful in daily life. A clear vision should function almost like a filter that every significant decision passes through. When an opportunity arises, when a choice needs to be made, when you are unsure whether to take a certain path, the question becomes simple. Does this move me toward the specific picture I have built, or does it pull me away from it, or simply keep me drifting in place? This single filter eliminates an enormous amount of daily confusion. Without vision, every decision has to be evaluated from scratch based on mood, convenience, or whatever feels easiest in the moment. With vision, most decisions become far more obvious because you already know what you are ultimately building toward, and you can quickly measure any option against that picture. This is one of the quiet, practical superpowers of vision that rarely gets discussed. It does not just inspire you. It simplifies your entire decision-making process. The fifth step is revisiting and refining the vision regularly rather than treating it as fixed forever. Many people believe vision has to be permanent once decided, and this belief actually discourages people from creating one at all, because committing to something forever feels like an enormous amount of pressure. But vision is not meant to be static. It is meant to be a living picture, refined as you grow, as you learn more about yourself, and as your understanding of what genuinely matters to you deepens over time. Set aside time, perhaps every few months, to revisit your vision honestly. Ask whether it still excites you the way it once did, whether new information has changed the picture, whether parts of it need to be sharpened or entirely reimagined. This is not failure or inconsistency. This is exactly how vision is supposed to work. It evolves as you evolve while still consistently doing its core job, giving you a clear enough picture of the future that drifting becomes difficult, because you always know at any given moment whether your current actions are moving you closer to that picture or further away from it. Now let's talk about what happens when vision is missing entirely, because understanding the cost makes the value of vision far more concrete. Without vision, time does not stop moving, it simply moves without direction. Years pass, skills may even develop, money may even be earned, but there is a hollow quality to accomplishments that were never connected to a clear picture of why they mattered. People without vision often describe a strange sensation of having worked extremely hard for a very long time, only to look up one day and not recognize the life they have built because they never actually chose it. It simply accumulated decision by unconscious decision, shaped mostly by whatever was easiest or most expected in each individual moment. This is the real danger of drifting. It rarely announces itself as a crisis. It arrives quietly through years of reasonable, understandable choices that never quite added up to a life anyone would have deliberately designed. Vision is what interrupts this pattern before it fully takes hold, or if you already sense it has taken hold, vision is exactly what allows you to reclaim direction, starting from wherever you currently stand. Here is the encouraging part. Vision does not require you to already have your entire future figured out. It does not require certainty, and it does not require having all the answers before you begin. It simply requires enough clarity to know your next direction, and enough honesty to keep refining that direction as you gather more information along the way. Most successful visions were never fully clear from the very beginning. They became clearer through the process of moving toward them, testing pieces of the picture in real life, and adjusting based on what was actually learned. So here is your task starting today. Sit down in complete privacy and begin sketching a specific picture of the future you actually want, not the one you have been told to want. Get concrete about what a normal day looks like inside that future. Test it honestly against your real values, not borrowed ones. Use it as a filter for the decisions in front of you right now, and revisit it regularly, allowing it to sharpen and evolve as you do. This single practice, repeated consistently, is often the exact difference between a life that happens to you and a life that you deliberately build. Without vision, you drift quietly, reasonably, one comfortable decision at a time. With vision, even in uncertainty, even without every detail figured out, you row. And every stroke, no matter how small, moves you visibly closer to a shore you actually chose to reach. This is Elevate Purpose. New videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe, and let's build a clear enough vision that drifting is no longer an option.